Hey guys, and welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. Here at Hardware Unboxed, we're focused on PC gaming. We want you guys out there to have the best possible PC gaming experience within your budget, and part of that involves recommending high quality gaming monitors. But as it turns out, gaming focused monitors aren't the only monitors on the market. Sometimes you can get a great experience for less cash by venturing outside of known gaming sub-brands like Asus ROG and Acer Predator. This is why today we're looking at the Asus Designo Curve MX34VQ. It may come as a bit of a surprise, but the MX34VQ is the cheapest 3440 by 1440 ultra-wide display you can get with a refresh rate of 100 Hz. And it doesn't skimp on features to hit this price point. The monitor comes with a Qi wireless charging base, decent Harman Kardon speakers, and support for FreeSync. Before I spend a bit of time on the design, let's talk monitor specifications. The MX34VQ uses a 34-inch VA panel with a resolution of 3440 by 1440, rated for a maximum brightness of 300 nits, a contrast ratio of 3000 to 1, 178-degree viewing angles, and 4 millisecond graded grey response times. It has an 1800R curvature, which is the most aggressive curved option used in today's monitors, along with a FreeSync window of 48 to 100 Hz with support for low frame rate compensation. Asus has clearly gone with an office-suitable design for this monitor. The circular metal stand and silver highlights look pretty good here, and I certainly prefer this sort of design to Asus' aggressive gamer-style designs they use for their ROG line. The rear uses a combination of textured and untextured plastic that again looks neat and tidy, just as you'd want for an office setup where the rear of the monitor is potentially visible. The monitor isn't slim by any stretch, though the curve hides a bit of the fat, so it doesn't look outrageous. Unfortunately, the attractiveness of the design has severely limited its flexibility, as the monitor only supports tilt adjustments. I think a height adjustment is a big omission here. The display sits fairly low down, much lower than I'd normally use for a monitor, and that may be an issue for some users. The most unique feature about the MX34VQ is Qi wireless charging support, which is included through a disc that sits in the middle of the glass base. The charger isn't hugely powerful, only supporting 5 watts of delivery, though that's typical of most Qi wireless chargers you can buy. Having wireless charging in your monitor stand is surprisingly handy, as you can keep your phone charged without wires while your phone is on your desk. The stand's base lights up when the Qi charger is activated, which is a nice touch to let you know the charger is working. I tested it with my totally not at all broken Galaxy S7 Edge, and it worked perfectly. As for the monitor's Harman Kardon speakers, I was surprised at how decent they were for integrated monitor speakers. The two downward firing 8-watt speakers produce sound equivalent to an entry-level stereo speaker setup, and while that's nothing particularly amazing, there's more depth and bass to the speakers than I was expecting. The MX34VQ comes with a decent array of connectivity. 3 HDMI 2.0 ports and a single DisplayPort 1.2 connector, plus 3.5mm audio input for the speakers, although of course you can get audio through both HDMI and DisplayPort. There's no USB hub on the monitor, though I don't often use USB hubs on monitors anyway, so I guess for me that's not a huge omission. If you're a fan of slim bezels, this monitor will leave you reasonably impressed with 9mm bezels on the left and right sides. If for some unknown reason you're planning to pair up multiple MX34VQs for some ridiculous and quite fantastic experience, you should definitely get a very nice experience here. The on-screen display is controlled through a directional toggle, which still remains the best way to control any OSD in my opinion. And here you'll find a range of typical controls. You get, your settings for color adjustment, blue light filters, input selections. There's even a picture-in-picture mode. There's nothing hugely amazing though to be found in the OSD, but at least it can be navigated with ease. Before I get into color performance, I did want to touch a little on the display's refresh rate and support for FreeSync. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking at a 48 to 100 Hz adaptive sync window, though the monitor does support LFC, so the variable refresh range is effectively from 0 to 100 Hz. This is important to note, as many other 1440p FreeSync ultrawides do not support LFC, as they have a more limited refresh window, more like 40 to 75 Hz. I wouldn't buy a monitor with such a high minimum refresh rate that doesn't support LFC, but this isn't a concern with the MX34VQ. Moving on to color performance, and let's first look at how the MX34VQ looks directly out of the box with no tweaks. First impressions aren't particularly great. White levels are set to 233 nits with a contrast ratio of just 6,148 to 1, which is well below the 3,000 to 1 figure Asus gives for this monitor. Setting the monitor to maximum brightness produces just 277 nits, which again is below the maximum 300 nits that Asus has rated this monitor for. Grayscale performance is mediocre, and that's due to Asus using the wrong color temperature by default. A temperature average of 7592K is too cold for proper sRGB standards, and that leads to a Delta E2000 average of 4.49 in our grayscale sweeps. Gamma of 2.2 is good as an average value, though looking at a gamma graph reveals performance isn't ideal across the entire range. And following on from that mediocre grayscale performance, saturation performance isn't great. Delta E2000 value here is 3.21, and although we are seeing an sRGB coverage of 99.9%, greens and reds are extended beyond the sRGB spectrum, and blues don't quite reach the same level. This leads to a custom color checker Delta E2000 average of 3.377, and that isn't particularly ideal either. But you can use the OSD to modify some settings as per the table that we're showing now, and that can lead to better results. Calibrating for sRGB and 200 nits of brightness using these settings pulled back the color temperature to a better 6419K, although it still came at the expense of contrast, which again reduced to 1871 to 1. It's important to note that while some grayscale values are improved, 50 to 80% white values are notably tinted red, which leads to an average delta E value of 2.10. You can correct the red tint, though this comes at the expense of accuracy at full white and in other areas. Saturation results show the red tint affecting saturation accuracy, though other colors have improved to deliver an average Delta E2000 value of 2.07. Color checker results improved to 2.293 as well, and while these values are improved, they're still not good enough for me to recommend this monitor for color accurate work. To achieve better results, you'll need a calibration tool. So using my i1 Display Pro calibration tool, I was able to create a display profile in SpectraCal's CalMan 5 that delivers significantly better results. Grayscale improves to an average DE of 0.64 with a CCT average of 6431K, which is a great result that removes the red tint. This helps deliver a saturation average of 0.86 and a color checker average of 1.22. These results are very solid, particularly grayscale and saturation, so provided you have a color calibration tool, the MX34VQ isn't the worst choice for those that require sRGB accuracy. However, you will need that color calibration tool to achieve these results, as neither the default nor OSD calibrated results are good enough. It's also worth looking at display uniformity. Curved displays tend to have a few issues with uniformity more than flat displays, and that seems to be the case with this monitor. The upper left of the monitor is the worst, and that deviates from the center the most, with a relative Delta E2000 value in the 4.0 range. Not the best performance in this regard, though not entirely surprising. At the end of the day, the Asus MX34VQ is a decent 3440 by 1440 ultrawide option with a strong feature list. Its price point of $799 US, though it can be often found for as low as $720, makes it the cheapest ultrawide of this kind with a 100Hz refresh rate, an important specification for those looking to use it as a gaming monitor. Support for FreeSync with low frame rate compensation is appreciated, though you might need to wait for AMD Vega to arrive, as no current AMD graphics card is truly capable of getting the most out of a 3440 by 1440 display at 100Hz. Still, it's always nice to get a more office-oriented display that includes gaming features like a high refresh rate and adaptive sync to sport, as these features add to its flexibility and suitability for a wide range of users. So unless you need G-Sync, the MX34VQ is a decent choice for those after a 1440p ultrawide, particularly thanks to its competitive price tag. If you're interested in this monitor, as always, you can check its price through our Amazon links in the description below, and I'll catch you in our next monitor review.